Good morning, everybody. It's Sandy Kamen-Wisniewski with Animal Education and Rescue, and this is our Saturday once a month live all about dog training and about dog behavior. So I'm looking forward to spending the next 45 minutes or so with you. I'll wait for a few minutes and see who comes on board. And today is going to be an interesting topic, and I would definitely suggest to bring some of your questions. And in the meantime, I'll say hi to Sean. Hi, Sean. Glad to have you on board. We are going to talk all about puppies today. And any questions you have, we're going to leave to the second part of the segment, so that way we can stay organized and on task. So we're going to talk about puppies inspired by the 8 puppies that we recently took in. Hi, Wendy. Wendy, there's no animals in here with me today. Can you believe it? I'm all by myself. It feels kind of weird without any dogs with me, that I'm in the office by myself. So I should have brought a dog with me, but that's okay. It's all good. So today, all about puppies. We have 8 puppies in our care currently. It is December 8th, 2018. In case you are going to watch this later, we have 8 puppies, one of which is being adopted by its foster home. We have Beagle mix puppies, and they are turning about 7 weeks old right now. I see Teresa is on. Hi, Teresa. Good morning. It is a sunny day. Sunny day on a Saturday. We have an adoption event in a little while from 11 to 2, and some of those puppies that I'm going to be talking about today are going to be at the adoption event. So we would love to have you stop by and pet a puppy. So we'll have about 3 of them there today. All right. So let's see. Let's give it just one more minute. And Rachel is on. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Today is all about puppies, and then I will be happy to answer any specific questions, or do my best to answer any specific questions that you might have about your own dog. And yes, Wendy, the puppies are adorable. They are so cute, and they all have very distinctive, unique personalities, and we're going to talk about that too. How do you pick out a puppy, and genetics versus environment, housebreaking, all sorts of interesting things. Whether you have a puppy, are looking to get a puppy, or just want to learn more about dog behavior, this is a great way to do it. So do stay tuned and learn more about dogs, and you will learn more from watching this. Even if you have no intention of ever having a puppy in your whole life, you'll learn more that hopefully will help you with the different stages of your dog's life. And I'm assuming you're watching this because you love dogs, as I do as well. And I'm so grateful that I have 2 amazing foster families, Kimberly and Brittany and their families, that are fostering these 8 puppies. I am so grateful. We split these puppies up in 2, so they're in 2 foster homes, 4 puppies per household. And we did that because the puppies at the time when they came to us were only 5 weeks old, and that's way too young for them to be separated from their litter mates. So we thought 2 larger groups, and I had these 2 foster people that were willing to take 4 puppies each. And it's far better for the puppies to stay in larger groups when they're that young, because they need to socialize with their peers, and it helps them down the road with socialization with other dogs as they move through their lives. And so thank you. Big shout out to Brittany and to Kimberly for fostering these puppies. I know it's not easy. I also want to thank all those people that have been donating food and formula and pee pads and newspapers and all the things that these lovely ladies need in order to continue to puppy these, or foster these puppies successfully. So let's begin, everybody. Let's talk about first, what are we looking for in a puppy? So sometimes you will notice that there's a whole litter of puppies that are available, and you have to pick that puppy, which puppy that you want. Well, let's break this down first of all. Let's talk about whether we want to get a puppy from a rescue organization versus we want to get a puppy from a breeder. Let's break this down. First of all, if you have a lot of allergies in your family and you need to have a hypoallergenic dog, you may have to get a dog through a breeder. If that's the case, then I urge you to research breeders and find breeders that are good quality breeders. I would absolutely suggest to you not to get a dog at a pet store, nor should you get a dog through a broker. A broker would be an individual that actually purchases puppies that are mass produced and keeps them maybe in their residence or whatever, and then resells them to the general public. So basically that is supporting puppy mills. And if you get a dog from a pet store, that is also supporting puppy mills. Good quality breeders will not sell their puppies to pet stores or to brokers because they want to know where their puppies go. They are very concerned about the lineage of their puppies to make sure that they have good, sound qualities to their puppies. So a good quality breeder wants to know exactly where their puppy is going, and so they personally will be actually selling these puppies. So that would be what I would suggest if you're going to go with a breeder. What I would suggest to the majority of you that maybe don't have allergy issues or need specific things for your dog, that you consider shopping around for a rescue dog. And there is a great website called petfinder.com, and you can research dogs based on the breeds that you are looking for to adopt. And there are plenty of dogs available in rescue. And puppies aren't for everyone. They aren't. A lot of people want adult dogs that you don't have to worry about the developmental stages of puppies, for instance, housebreaking and chewing and being destructive, and they can't be left for long periods of time. So there's a lot of value in getting an adult dog that can hold their urine and their poop for longer periods of time versus a puppy that actually has to go out to go potty frequently, and they have the attention span of a gnat when they're really little. So I see Vicki is on. Good morning, Vicki. So let's just talk about, since we're in the world of rescue, let's talk, I'm going to lean more towards talking about rescue dogs and puppies versus dogs from a breeder. How do you pick out your mixed breed or puppy from a rescue organization? Well, you can really observe a puppy of any age and get an idea of their energy level, what breed type they are, and really make an educated guess on what puppy is right for me. And I'm going to use a couple examples. We have these 8 puppies in our care. We have probably on the smaller side, we have this pup, and they're all litter mates. We assuming, although they were all found outside somebody's house running loose, we assume they came from the same mother dog. So one of the puppies is very teeny tiny, and her name is Sprite. And then there are larger puppies. The male puppies are obviously even that much more large. There's one puppy in particular that I can't remember his name, and he is very laid back. Well, Sprite is a tiny little puppy that has all the energy in the world, and she was named Sprite by her foster family because she's sprightly, and when all of her litter mates are sleeping in a pile curled up together, she is running around and playing and getting into mischief and all sorts of things. So that tells you with Sprite in particular, if you are looking at adopting Sprite, you might say to yourself, oh, she's so cute, she's so little, she won't grow very big. Well, we can guesstimate that she's not going to be very big, let's say, based on her size. But we have to also not only look at how cute she is and the size she is, but her temperament. So if, let's say, it's an older couple that are in their mid-60s and they really want a puppy, then maybe or maybe not, that puppy might be too much for them, might be too much energy for them. So maybe they want to look at one of the other puppies. Size is not necessarily an indicator of whether you should get a particular puppy or not. As a matter of fact, a lot of times people will say, oh, I would never get a Great Dane because I lived in an apartment. Well, guess what? Sometimes Great Danes are great housemates in an apartment because they're not typically high energy. So some of these giant breeds are actually calmer than these little dogs like Sprite that are just kind of hyperactive and spastic that maybe would love a backyard to run around in. So when you're looking to adopt a puppy from a rescue organization, assuming that the puppies are in a foster home, really rely on the observations of the foster family and how they observed each and every puppy acting and reacting. Is the puppy shy? Is the puppy more outgoing? Is the puppy hyperactive? Is the puppy lazy? What kind of home do you have? And those all play a factor. For example, if you have a home with 4 young active children, you might not want to adopt a very shy puppy. That might be overwhelming for that shy puppy. Maybe that shy puppy would do better in a home with, let's say, that couple that we talked about earlier that are in their mid-60s, that maybe their kids are grown and their grandkids come to visit occasionally, but other than that, they live a quiet lifestyle. Maybe that shy puppy might do really well in that atmosphere. So really understand that there is a basis of really picking out your puppy based on the puppy's genetic personality, who they are. If you look at human beings, we are to an extent who we were from the time we were little. Our parents would say, oh, like for instance, in my case, my mom would say Sandy was always shy and sensitive. Well, I'm still, even though I'm much more outgoing and I've learned to be outgoing, doing the work that I do, I am still very, very sensitive, and I tend to be more, I would say, an introvert person versus an extrovert person. That's just who I am. I have learned how to adapt to situations based on my interests and what I'm doing in my life, but that's kind of who I am. So think about that when you're thinking about getting a puppy. What is their actual personality like? What foundation are we starting with? And then we have to now get into all of that is involved in raising a puppy. So let's talk about one of the first things that you're going to have to deal with, and that's housebreaking. In the case of these 8 puppies, when they arrived in our care at 5 weeks old, I told the foster families they are too young to work on housebreaking. First of all, they have too many of them. There's no way they're going to work on 4 puppies housebreaking at 5 weeks old. It's not going to happen. So in the case of these puppies, we're using newspapers and pee pads for them to go potty on and cleaning up after them. A puppy should start housebreaking when they go home to their adoptive home. And in 99.9% of cases, whether it's a breeder or a rescue dog, it's going to be 8 weeks or older. The general rule is that for every month the dog is alive is 1 hour that they can hold their urine during the day. At night they can hold it longer because they're sleeping. So you always want to think that if the dog is 8 weeks old, then it can hold 2 hours. If it's 4 months old, it can hold it 4 hours. 6 months old, 6 hours. Now there's some variables involved. If it's a really hot day and the dog has drank a lot of water, then you have to think about the dog having to go potty more often because its tank is full more often because it's drinking a lot of water, versus the dog that is taking a long nap and its bladder is filling up as it's napping. When it gets up from the nap, you're going to want to take that puppy out to go potty then as well. So those are some general ideas, and I'm going to chip away at that in just a moment. I see that Jean joined. Hi, Jean. Good to see you on board. And Meg. Hi, Meg. So, okay. So as far as housebreaking goes, now this goes for whether you are housebreaking a young puppy or you are housebreaking a newly adopted rescue dog that's a full-grown adult. This is generally how it works. Now there's variables all the time, but I'm going to talk about generalities. Number one is you want to restrict the area that the dog has access to when you are not around to watch the dog. So typically, most dogs will not go potty where they sleep or they eat. So what they do is they sleep and they eat in one area, and then they go potty in another area. So we want to reinforce that natural instinct that they have. So most dogs do really well with crate training. And some people think that crate training is cruel, and I can tell you that it's not, that most dogs, again, we're saying most dogs, actually enjoy their crate. They like that sense of security that they get with their crate and the sense of safety that they get. Sometimes they may cry initially in their crate when they're little puppies, but they do get used to their crate. You know, it's sort of like a child getting used to sleeping in a crib, that it takes some time. And sometimes with the dog, you have to let that puppy cry a little bit. So when you are housebreaking a dog, you want to make sure that when you leave them, you're leaving them in a space that is only large enough for them to stand up and turn around in, and so that's typically a crate. And when a puppy is really little, what you want to do is you can divide that crate out. Usually if you buy a wire crate, which is usually what people use, it comes with a divider, or get one that comes with a divider, and you put that divider in the beginning, because as the puppy grows, you'll move the divider and make it bigger and bigger until the divider isn't needed anymore, and then you have your adult-sized dog in the appropriate size wire crate. So I hope that makes sense to you. So think about your dog's pee and poop and their body system, their bladder and their bowels, as the tank. And when we fill the tank becomes full. And when we empty the tank becomes empty. So your general routine for housebreaking is going to be, if the dog sleeps for, let's say, half the night, let's say, again, let's talk about an 8-week-old puppy. Understand that if we're talking about a 1-year-old dog, that you're just going to reinforce housebreaking because you've just rescued the dog, then you can apply, if it's a 1-year-old dog, to the dog being able to hold it all night long. Okay, so there should be no reason the dog cannot hold it all night long. Okay, so let's start in the morning, but let's make it a puppy. So if it's a puppy, you may have gotten up in the middle of the night to take the puppy out to go potty. And so let's say the puppy was in its crate for 4 or 5 hours. First thing you do when you take the puppy out of the crate is whisk it outside to go potty. And you stand there with the puppy until the puppy goes potty. And in the freezing cold, it definitely like it is right now, it definitely makes it more challenging. And I can't get into the whole details of that, but use your creativity in figuring out how to do that. If it's a tiny little puppy like a Chihuahua puppy or a Pomeranian puppy or a little mixed breed puppy, and that puppy you just don't want to take out, then you're going to use the same principle of housebreaking outside as you would on pee pads. So you're going to take the dog to a pee pad inside the house. And I'm going to break down the pee pad thing in just a little while. But let's assume that we're either doing a pee pad or we're having the dog go potty outside. So you take your dog over to that spot. When they squat to go potty, which they should do fairly quickly because their tank is going to be full, wait until they've completely lifted their butt up before you praise them. Because if you praise them while they're squatting and they get all excited because you're saying, good puppy, good puppy, like that, and the dog gets all excited, it's going to lift up before it's completely eliminated its bladder. And so therefore, it's going to have to go more often. So wait until it lifts its butt and then praise, praise, praise. Okay, lots of praise. Good boy, good girl, yay, I'm so happy, yay, let's have a party. The dog may or may not go poop first thing in the morning. You're going to have to get to know your dog's schedule. But for sure, by this time, the bladder is empty. Take your dog back inside. The dog has breakfast. Feed the dog. Within a half an hour of the dog eating, the dog's tank is now full. For certain now, the dog's bowels are full. So now the dog goes back outside because its tank is full, and you're going to try to get the dog to go poop and possibly pee again. And sometimes just getting them to physically move around the yard might be helpful in getting them to actually have to go poop. And patience is really important. So think about your day with the dog's tank full and the dog's tank empty. You're going to feed your puppy, if it's less than 6 months old, 3 times a day, and potty is going to be around there. And so outside go potty, tank is empty. Inside, playtime, whatever, drinks lots of water. After drinking lots of water, tank begins to fill up. The dog has to go out. And keeping in mind that it depends on how old your puppy is. If you adopted a 6-month-old puppy, it's going to be 6 hours typically that a dog can hold it before they have to go out to go potty. Again, thinking of the tank full, the tank empty, and feeding and watering times. So, and when you're not watching your puppy, the dog needs to go in its crate when you cannot watch the puppy. Okay, so I want to talk about some things that work and don't work that I think are really important. One of the things that a lot of people use, I've gone into dog trainings and people have used a bell on the door to teach the dog to let them know when they have to go outside and go potty. And I can tell you from my experience as a dog trainer, and I've been working with dogs since 1990. Okay, so 1990. This year is 2018. And I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of puppies throughout the years that I have worked with and that I have personally fostered and raised myself. I find 99% of the time that the bell thing does not work. All it does is, at best, teach your dog when they bop their nose or their paw on the bell, that mom or dad come running. And they get lots of attention. And maybe they associate that with going outside. But there are too many steps from the time they hit the bell with their nose or their paw to open it, you coming to the door, to opening that door, to letting them outside, to them running around the yard, to them squatting to go potty. Okay? Too many steps. Dogs are not that intelligent. They're not that smart. They just aren't. So we need to have, anytime there's going to be any kind of praise for good behavior, it needs to be instantaneous. And the bell is not instantaneous. What is instantaneous is that when the dog rings the bell, if you go running over and give that dog attention or do anything to give that dog a positive reaction, that is what they're focusing on, not all the steps before they go outside and go potty. So I would definitely not recommend the bell on the door. I don't find it effective at all. The other thing too is if you're working on housebreaking your dog, whether it's a puppy or an adult dog that you've just rescued, it's hugely important that each and every time your dog goes outside to go potty, even if you have a fenced-in yard, that you go out with them so you can track when they do go potty and you can praise them when they go potty. Hugely important. So even if it's cold outside, you still have to go outside with your dog until you can be sure that they are 100% housebroken. That is part of the ownership of having a dog and to ensure that things happen in the right way. One of the things I want to talk about too is punishment. We have to be really careful about punishing our puppies, our doggies, and when and how to do it. One of the old-fashioned ways that people used to punish a dog when they go potty in the house is they used to if they found a puddle of urine in the house, they would scoop up the dog or drag the dog over to where the dog peed or pooed, stick their nose in it, tell them how bad they are, and then make them go outside. I can tell you right now that absolutely 100% does not work. All that does is confuse your dog and actually potentially could cause more problems for your dog. So the key is, if the dog has an accident in the house and you do not catch the dog in the act, that you simply, one, clean it up and make sure to use a really, really good cleaner. If it's carpeting, really good cleaner. Make sure you get that as clean as you possibly can. And say to yourself, what happened that I wasn't watching my dog close enough that the dog was able to sneak off and go potty? And so then you need to reel it in and realize that you're giving your dog too much freedom, and you need to keep the dog confined to a space if you can't watch your dog as you're working on housebreaking. So watching your dog could be, if you're in the kitchen, you can have baby gates up and have the dog in the kitchen. It could be tying the dog by leash to you as you do the dishes, or if you're going to take a shower, then crate the dog, or have the dog in the bathroom with you. If it's a little farther along with housebreaking, you want the dog with you while you shower. Maybe it's a small enough space the dog won't go potty in there. So those are really important things to remember. So punishment, the only time that you're going to actually punish your dog is if you catch your dog in the middle or just about to go potty, then scoop the dog up if it's small enough, or take the dog if it's too big to pick up, and quickly say, no, 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 like that, and race them outside, and hopefully they'll finish going potty outside, and then you can praise, praise, praise them like crazy, and that's awesome. Tell them what good dogs they are. And then the beautiful thing with that is that it's a very quick thing that you're scooping them up and saying no, 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 and you're bringing them outside, lots of praise. And so it's that quick reaction, quick negative, then quick positive. And so that hopefully will help to reinforce the housebreaking as well. Do expect accidents. They happen because you're not perfect, the dog's not perfect, they're learning, you're learning. If you are working full-time and you want a puppy, then you need to arrange for somebody to come in the middle of the day at least twice to check on that puppy, to take that puppy out. But that said, I would highly recommend to those of you that work full-time to consider getting an adult dog. I think a puppy being left all day, even with having a dog walker come in a couple times a day, I think that's a lot for the family, and the dog is left for long periods of time. I think a young puppy, 8 weeks or so, really a family, somebody needs to be home with that dog. So there are plenty of adult dogs that need homes that can hold it for a longer period of times, that have a longer attention span, and it's much less work. So keep that in mind as you're moving forward with what decision you're making as far as getting an adult dog or a puppy. Let's talk about treat training for a moment. So when it comes to housebreaking, certainly when you take your dog outside to go potty and your dog goes potty, you can give your dog a treat when your dog goes potty outside. Let's say you go outside with your puppy and you've got treats in your pocket, and your puppy squats, urinates all the way, lifts its butt, and you say, "Good puppy," and you very quickly give that dog a treat. It's the kind of treat, not that they're going to chew, 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 that's going to be very big. It's just a chew, chomp, and swallow. So a very small training treat. You can do that periodically if you want. You can do that each and every time if you want. Really, it does help reinforce good behavior regardless of what it's for, and in this case, housebreaking. Now, that said, be very careful. Don't give your puppy a treat after they come back inside, because if you do that, then what you're teaching your dog is that when they go outside and come back inside, they're going to get a treat, not that they're associating it with housebreaking. So it's really important that you give instant positive reinforcement. So whatever they're doing that is right, that you want to reinforce, you want to give instant results, so an instant treat. So if they're sitting, let's say you say to your dog, "Gizmo, sit," and the dog sits, you say, "Good boy," give them a treat like that immediately. Don't wait until later to give them a treat, because they will make no association to that sitting. Okay. You can also use treats to show dogs shaping. So in other words, if you're trying to teach your dog to sit, you can shape your dog into a sit. Let's say I'm the dog and here's the owner. You can take the treat like this and then have it shape up, 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 causes the dog to kind of look up, and gets them to go back, 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 and then go into a sitting position. So that would be called shaping your dog into a sit. You could do the same thing with down. So the dog would have it in front of their nose, and then you would make an L like an L, like so the dog follows down and then back out, getting the dog in a down position. So you can learn more about shaping simply by looking probably on YouTube videos or on on the web, shaping for dog trainings, if you want to learn more about that. Clicker training. So clicker training was really popular about 10 years ago, and a lot of people were starting to use it. And I started to research more about it and tried to use clicker training. What I find with clicker training is that it's too much that people have to keep in their hands. So they have to keep a leash in their hand, they have to keep a treat in their hand, and they have to keep the clicker in their hand, and timing needs to be perfect. So what I found initially is that it was just too cumbersome, and timing had to be perfect to do clicker training. So then I started to actually, instead of using a clicker, I actually clicked with my tongue. So I used my tongue as a clicker, so it was one less thing that you had to hold in your hand. But then over time I found that through working with my clients that it was just too complicated and timing needed to be just too perfect for clicker training, and I found that people were not using it consistently. So I found that clicker training just didn't work for the majority of people. So I found that regular positive reinforcement training, redirecting, so if the dog is behaving inappropriately, like chewing something they shouldn't chew, then you give them something to chew and get them away from that situation that they're in, whatever they're chewing. For instance, if they're chewing on a shoe, well, you need to put that shoe away and you need to give them something appropriate to chew instead. And lastly, I want to talk about potty pads. We talked about that earlier, and I said that if you have a very small dog that you want to train on pee pads because maybe it's too freezing cold, let's say it's a little Chihuahua puppy and you want to train that dog to go potty on pee pads versus go potty outside, that's okay. There are people that use pee pads for their dog's entire life. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you choose to do. But if you really ultimately want your dog to be housebroken to go outside to go potty, then I wouldn't necessarily use pee pads at all. I would just do the whole housebreaking thing and just use a crate and get that dog outside and just put in the hard work, because it's a lot harder work to teach your dog to go potty outside than it is to actually have them go on pee pads. But that said, some dogs, like I have Chihuahuas, they are warm weather dogs. They will sit out in the sun in the summertime and be so thrilled to be out there. Come this kind of weather when it's 20 degrees, they don't want to step foot outside. So dogs like that, you might want to train them with pee pads. There's different kinds of pee pads you can get. You can get disposable pee pads, which are the most convenient and popular, but they're not really good for the environment and they're expensive. So I know people that actually get reusable pee pads, and that would be an option for you as well. So keep that in mind. Okay, how are we doing on time? It is 9:48, and I think I covered an awful lot. Is there any questions? Does anybody have any questions about housebreaking, about puppies? And while I wait for maybe questions, I want to just stress to everybody that every dog at every different age has different challenges. For example, you cannot expect an 8-week-old puppy to have the attention span of a 6-year-old dog. If you chose to adopt a 1-year-old Labrador Pit Bull mix, which is a very popular mix breed dog, and that dog is 1 year old, while it's full grown, let's say at 1 year old, they are still very hyperactive. Even, well, generally speaking, they've got a lot more energy than the Basset Hound of the same age. Okay, so keep that in mind when you are deciding on dogs and the expectations that you have for your dog. If you have a 1 year old energetic lab pit mix and you want your dog to sit and stay, do not expect them to sit and stay for the length of time a same dog that's a Basset Hound that's 1 year old will sit and stay. It's just not going to happen. So just keep that in mind moving forward, expectations for your dogs. And you want to think about the genetics, what breed type that you are adopting, what the expectations that you have for that breed type, and the age of the animal. Dogs that are used, let's say, for commercials or for television or for movies, these are not dogs typically that are 1 year old, unless of course they're using puppies for a scene in a movie or whatever. They use adult dogs that are older, that have a higher attention span. Usually 4, 5, 6 years old is a great age for dogs to actually have a longer attention span. So keep that in mind. So when you see puppies, know that it's going to take till they're quite a bit older before you're able to get them to do things that, let's say, you see your neighbor's dog that's 7 or 8 years old doing. That's important to know. Okay, so Vicki says, are any of the 8 puppies coming to the meet and greet today? Yes, Vicki, 3 of the puppies will be there at the meet and greet today at Pet Supplies Plus. It is December 8th, Saturday, December 8th, and they will be there from 11 o'clock until 2 o'clock today over at Pet Supplies Plus in Libertyville by the Jewel. So yes, they will be there, as will Spike, who is a 1 year old Shih Tzu and Chihuahua mix, and he's a little on the reserved side. He is a small dog. He is housebroken, and he'd be best in a home with older kids or no kids, simply because he's a little on the shy side. So he will be there as well, and guinea pigs will be there as well. So I'm looking to see if anybody has any other questions. I think we covered a lot today about puppies, about genetics versus environment versus breed types versus different training techniques, positive reinforcement, punishment, redirecting, clicker training, using potty pads, crate training. I mean, we covered an awful lot in a short period of time. Of course, I would highly recommend to you that you continue to watch our lives, and I do these particular lives once a month where we talk about different things with dog behavior and with dog training. And so hopefully the more educated you can be, the more you understand, the more you can apply these principles to your dog, as well as share this information with others. So I don't see any questions, which is great. So hopefully I answered any questions you might have. I want to thank all of you for joining me here today on this Facebook Live, all about puppies, all about dog behavior, and all about housebreaking, choosing right pet or right dog for your home, and all that other good stuff. I would suggest to you to share this video with anybody that you think this might help as they move forward, including or adding or working with a dog in their own family. And I will be at PetSmart at 11 o'clock, not PetSmart, sorry, Pet Supplies Plus today at 11 o'clock. If anybody has any questions, they want to see me in person, I will be there. Otherwise, I'm going to take off now and get ready for the event. You all have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye.